Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to speak to you based on your theme of Rise. And just now, what a gift that you have given to every one of us by the courage that you have shown in organizing this event. Now, because of your gift, I'd like to return a personal gift to all of you by speaking to you plainly and frankly. Because hopefully, you're not the last generation, but the next generation. And why do I say so? I say so because we are living in extremely challenging times. As we speak, the threat of a nuclear war has never been so close. Rising temperatures are bringing us closer and closer to the climate crisis, and new pandemics lurk in the background while we still battle the scourge of COVID-19. And given all the insanity that is happening in the world, I thought the best gift I can give to you is to only say the essential thing, so as to help you discern your path as the next generation of leaders. When I was 16, I attended an international youth festival. It was called the Gen Fest, and its vision was to build a united world. We were 16,000 of us from 180 nations gathered in Rome, Palais Stadium. The year was 1995. There was a war going on in former Yugoslavia. Some of the youth came, shared with us their experiences. Despite the tragic circumstances, the loss of home and family, these youth still managed to find the courage to forgive. They still have hope for a united world. And towards the end of that event, an Italian lady came to speak to us. She would eventually win the UNESCO Peace Prize of 1997. Her name was Kara Lubick. And she said, "Unity can be the sign of our times. And I call on you, young people, to bring this idea of unity to schools, religious communities, to companies." This entire experience moved me tremendously. And you must know at that time in Singapore, we weren't talking about higher values. Singapore was a time we were talking about making money and being successful, you know. And I was in this environment and this atmosphere, and I was very taken up by the idea. And I thought this can be my life's purpose. Since then, it has been so. Now, as the organizers, the wonderful organizers of this TEDx event shared, TED is the world's largest platform for ideas. And that's why it has the byline, ideas worth spreading. Now, this TEDx series itself, which began in 2009, has seen 10,000 events being organized, 50,000 talks given. So we are not short of ideas to overcome climate change, bring about peace, and prevent the next pandemic. What is our greatest challenge? Dear friends, our greatest challenge is the inability to work together. You know, before I left school, I always thought that the adults are the sensible lot, and they always do the right thing. Then when I became an adult, I realized that common sense is in short supply. And if your lecturers and teachers have not warned you, it's a messy world you are inheriting. And human beings are really a paradox. It's a strange species because we are the only species capable of shaping complex rules and institutions for peaceful coexistence, while at the same time inventing and investing in devastating weapon systems that can, if ever deployed, destroy the entire humanity in minutes. We have 12,000 nuclear warheads held by different powers hanging over our heads. A nuclear war, definitely a frightening prospect. If it ever happens, will be our last. On the climate crisis, we know what is at stake. It is indisputable. But again, without unity, all ideas, facts are mere positions held by different people. Shouting at leaders, "Shame on you," can only go this far. You need to replace the current generation of failed leadership by proving that even if you have different ideas, you can still rise as a unifying generation to mend a broken world. And if you succeed, you may rebrand TED Talks to TED Actions, with a new byline maybe, Solutions from a United Generation. Now, unity may be elusive, but it is also the most desired value. In my 18 years of work in change and transformation, whenever we ask, organization, what is the value you think this organization need, everyone, 90% of the time says, is teamwork or unity. As a youth, when I got involved in interreligious dialogue, it was a very rich experience because I was part of the world's largest interfaith organization called Religions for Peace. And I soon learned that unity is the core to human existence. And from these twin perspectives, I understood that if you approach building unity from the aspect of respect for others and realism, it is not only achievable, it can change the world. And I would like to share this approach which I found and I learned with all of you today. I call this approach the garden theory for unity. And it has 3 key principles. The first, divergent reality. The second, design intentionally. And third, dialogue always. As one can imagine, and here I'm showing you gardens by the way, a beautiful has to be diverse. A garden has to be diverse to be beautiful. It has large trees, small shrubs, flower beds, all come together to form a beautiful visual feast. But the garden also requires careful nurturing. Every single plant, tree requires dedicated and customized care. And this image in itself is representative of humanity. So accepting this, something which I call divergent reality, is crucial for human existence. Building any common space has to bear that in mind, that there will always be divergence in the complex web of human existence. In interreligious dialogue, religions hold divergent views of God, yet all are engaged in dialogue. The key to interfaith dialogue is the recognition that religions are inherently different and in varied ways to God or belief. And yet, it is a shared human existence. This is a very crucial element for the basis of any interfaith dialogue. In my work transforming companies, I learned that the greatest obstacle to the evolution of any organization that wants to be the most successful is the inability to accept divergent reality. Too many companies, at their own peril, refuse to acknowledge this reality, and it causes a lot of grief and lack of performance. In 2016, there was a groundbreaking study by Google Google did a longitudinal study about what makes the perfect team. And you know what they found? It's not those teams with the best minds, because Google hires the best from the Ivy League universities, you know that. It's not those with the most resources. It is those teams that can shape or nurture a psychologically safe space. Now, dear friends, a psychologically safe space recognizes divergent reality and is comfortable with it. The other interesting thing, though, we are in probably one of the most advanced age of humanity. We have all the technology to connect with one another. We have an abundance of information. Yet, COVID-19 has shown us that even with the abundance of information, how quickly fake news about vaccines could spread and influence large segments of society proves that abundance of information does not automatically lead to mutual trust and understanding. So, accepting divergent reality also means that you, as leaders, you have to intentionally design, to give everyone a stake in the future. Just like how dedicated cultivation is required in a garden. You need dedicated forums, processes, institutions to nurture understanding, nurture shared views, and continuously seed the value of each other's existence. According to Pew's research, Singapore is the world's most religiously diverse nation. But Singapore was booted out of Malaysia due to racial riots and to prevent further bloodshed. To come from a dark place to rise as one of the world's most powerful city-state, the founding leaders of Singapore had to intentionally design public policy, education, housing, to ensure fair play and integrate diverse races and religions. It's still a work in progress. But so far, it has provided a common space for people to thrive. A garden will always be a work in progress. And such is the work of building unity. It takes a long while to shape a garden, and it's always fragile and can be easily destroyed. In 2014, I had the rare opportunity of being with another TED Talk speaker, Pope Francis, when he welcomed a small group of religious leaders and youth activists involved in interreligious dialogue. In a small room where he welcomed us, actually we thought he wasn't turning up because we were supposed to meet him at 9, he came at 10. Then he said, I had a toothache and I had to see the dentist. So he came, he said to us, he held our hands and said that the most crucial thing in interreligious dialogue is that despite our differences, we choose to continue to walk together. I agree. This choice of wanting to walk together matters. And I've seen what a difference it makes, especially when you put aside hatred to continue to dialogue, always. In 2008, I was part of a young leaders' delegation to build peace in Mindanao through interreligious dialogue. It was a place of conflict at that time. It was also the first time I came face-to-face with the youth members of Moro Islamic Liberation Front, the organizing seeking the independence of Mindanao, a large peninsula in southern Philippines. Now, before we arrive, you will watch images on the news and you see whenever they talk about the MILF, you have young rebels walking with guns through the jungle. So that you will be led to believe that you are trying to have a dialogue with young people of a rough nature. So it was a pleasant surprise when I met them and you see how informed they were on global issues, how well they presented themselves, and how reasonable they were. And during this event, it was also the first time Catholic Filipinos came into contact with their friends and Muslim friends from the South. This went a long way to overcome prejudices because there have been few opportunities to be friends. Of course, there were many moments of tensions. Our friends from Mindanao frequently shared their grievances about discrimination from Manila. We heard first-hand accounts of people who were displaced during moments of conflict. But even though it was such a difficult and tense meeting, that experience demonstrated to me that conflicts cannot be shaped by media or commentators. You have to get involved, create intentional moments for people to know each other, to be friends. The Mindanao today is a very different reality. It is an autonomous region at peace. And it was only possible because the MILF and the Philippine government decided to put aside their hatred to continue dialogue, and they signed the peace accord in 2014. Dear friends, dear next generation, that choice begins today. To be the next generation of leaders or its last. Today, too many leaders are good at talking and tearing each other down. We need you as an entire generation of leaders, entire teams, to rise up to be political, business, civil society leaders who can work together without accepting that humanity will always be a divergent reality, without the creativity to design intentionally, without the heart to dialogue always. All ideas are meaningless without unity. So wherever you go, whatever station you find yourself, I hope that you will be that unifying generation that can mend our broken world. Thank you.